Shorty Dreams by Jack London. 1. Funny you don't gamble none, Shorty said to Smoke one night in the Elkhorn. Ain't it in your blood? It is, Smoke answered. But the statistics are in my head. I like an even break for my money. All about them, in the huge barroom, arose the click and rattle and rumble of a dozen games, at which fur-clad, moccasined men tried their luck. Smoke waved his hand to include them all. Look at them, he said. It's cold mathematics that they will lose more than they win tonight, that the big proportion is losing right now. You're sure strong on figures, Shorty murmured admiringly. And in the main you're right. But there's such a thing as facts. And one fact is streaks of luck. There's times when every geezer playing wins, as I know, for I've sat in such games and saw more than one bank busted. The only way to win at gambling is wait for a hunch that you've got a lucky streak coming and then to play it to the roof. It sounds simple, Smoke criticized. So simple I can't see how men can lose. The trouble is, Shorty admitted, that most men gets fooled on their hunches. On occasion I sure get fooled on mine. The thing is to try and find out. Smoke shook his head. That's a statistic, too, Shorty. Most men prove wrong on their hunches. But don't you ever get one of them streaky feelings that all you got to do is put your money down and pick a winner? Smoke laughed. I'm too scared of the percentage against me. But I'll tell you what, Shorty. I'll throw $1 on the high card right now and see if it will buy us a drink. Smoke was edging his way into the faro table, when Shorty caught his arm. Hold on. I'm getting one of them hunches now. You put that $1 on roulette. They went over to a roulette table near the bar. Wait till I give the word, Shorty counseled. What number? Smoke asked. Pick it yourself. But wait till I say let her go. You don't mean to say I've got an even chance on that table? Smoke argued. As good as the next geezers. But not as good as the banks. Wait and see, Shorty urged. Now. Let her go. The gamekeeper had just sent the little ivory ball whirling around the smooth rim above the revolving, menace-slotted wheel. Smoke, at the lower end of the table, reached over a player, and blindly tossed the $1. It slid along the smooth, green cloth and stopped fairly in the center of 34. The ball came to rest, and the gamekeeper announced, 34 wins. He swept the table, and alongside of Smoke's $1, stacked $35. Smoke drew the money in, and Shorty slapped him on the shoulder. Now, that was the real goods of a hunch, Smoke. How'd I know it? There's no telling. I just knew you'd win. Why, if that $1 of yourn fell on any other number it'd won just the same. When the hunch is right, you just can't help winning. Suppose it had come double naught? Smoke queried, as they made their way to the bar. Then your $1'd ben on double naught, was Shorty's answer. There's no getting away from it. A hunch is a hunch. Here's how. Come on back to the table. I got a hunch, after picking you for a winner, that I can pick some few numbers myself. Are you playing a system? Smoke asked, at the end of 10 minutes, when his partner had dropped $100. Shorty shook his head indignantly, as he spread his chips out in the vicinities of 3, 11, and 17, and tossed a spare chip on the green. Hell is sure cluttered with geezers that played systems, he exposited, as the keeper raked the table. From idly watching, Smoke became fascinated, following closely every detail of the game from the whirling of the ball to the making and the paying of the bets. He made no plays, however, merely contenting himself with looking on. Yet so interested was he, that Shorty, announcing that he had had enough, with difficulty drew Smoke away from the table. The gamekeeper returned Shorty the gold sack he had deposited as a credential for playing, and with it went a slip of paper on which was scribbled, "Out. $350. Shorty carried the sack and the paper across the room and handed them to the weigher, who sat behind a large pair of gold scales. Out of Shorty's sack he weighed $350, which he poured into the coffer of the house. "That hunch of yours was another one of those statistics," Smoke jeered. "I had to play it, didn't I, in order to find out?" Shorty retorted. "I reckon I was crowed in some just on account of trying to convince you there's such a thing as hunches." "Never mind, Shorty," Smoke laughed. "I've got a hunch right now." Shorty's eyes sparkled as he cried eagerly, "What is it? Kick in and play it pronto." "It's not that kind, Shorty. Now, what I've got is a hunch that someday I'll work out a system that will beat the spots off that table." "System?" Shorty groaned, then surveyed his partner with a vast pity. "Smoke, listen to your sidekicker and leave system alone. Systems is sure losers. They ain't no hunches in systems." "That's why I like them," Smoke answered. "A system is statistical. When you get the right system you can't lose, and that's the difference between it and a hunch. You never know when the right hunch is going wrong. But I know a lot of systems that went wrong, and I never seen a system win." Shorty paused and sighed. "Look here, Smoke, if you're getting cracked on systems this ain't no place for you, and it's about time we hit the trail again." 2. During the several following weeks, the two partners played at cross purposes. Smoke was bent on spending his time watching the roulette game in the Elkhorn, while Shorty was equally bent on traveling trail. At last Smoke put his foot down when a stampede was proposed for 200 miles down the Yukon. "Look here, Shorty," he said, "I'm not going. That trip will take 10 days, and before that time I hope to have my system in proper working order. I could almost win with it now. What are you dragging me around the country this way for anyway?" "Smoke, I got to take care of you," was Shorty's reply. "You're getting nutty. I'd drag you stampede into Jericho or the North Pole if I could keep you away from that table." "It's all right, Shorty. But just remember I've reached full man-grown, meat-eating size. The only dragging you'll do will be dragging home the dust I'm going to win with that system of mine, and you'll most likely have to do it with a dog team." Shorty's response was a groan. "And I don't want you to be bucking any games on your own," Smoke went on. "We're going to divide the winnings, and I'll need all our money to get started. That system's young yet, and it's liable to trip me for a few falls before I get it lined up." 3. At last, after long hours and days spent at watching the table, the night came when Smoke proclaimed he was ready, and Shorty, glum and pessimistic, with all the seeming of one attending a funeral, accompanied his partner to the Elkhorn. Smoke bought a stack of chips and stationed himself at the gamekeeper's end of the table. Again and again the ball was whirled and the other players won or lost, but Smoke did not venture a chip. Shorty waxed impatient. Buck in," he urged. "Let's get this funeral over. What's the matter? Got cold feet?" Smoke shook his head and waited. A dozen plays went by, and then, suddenly, he placed 10 $1 chips on 26. The number won, and the keeper paid Smoke $350. A dozen plays went by, 20 plays, and 30, when Smoke placed $10 on 32. Again he received $350. "It's a hunch," Shorty whispered vociferously in his ear. "Ride it! Ride it!" Half an hour went by, during which Smoke was inactive, then he placed $10 on 34 foot and won. "A hunch," Shorty whispered. "Nothing of the sort," Smoke whispered back. "It's the system. Isn't she a dandy?" "You can't tell me," Shorty contended. "Hunches comes in mighty funny ways. You might think it's a system, but it ain't. Systems is impossible. They can't happen. It's a sure hunch you're playing. Smoke now altered his play. He bet more frequently, with single chips, scattered here and there, and he lost more often than he won. Quit it, Shorty advised. Cash in. You've rung the bullseye 3 times, and you're ahead 1,000. You can't keep it up. At this moment the ball started whirling, and Smoke dropped 10 chips on 26. The ball fell into the slot of 26, and the keeper again paid him $350. If you're plumb crazy and got the immortal cinch, bet the limit, Shorty said. Put down 25 next time. A quarter of an hour passed, during which Smoke won and lost on small scattering bets. Then, with the abruptness that characterized his big betting, he placed $25 on the double nought, and the keeper paid him $875. Wake me up, Smoke, I'm Shorty moaned. Smoke smiled, consulted his notebook, and became absorbed in calculation. He continually drew the notebook from his pocket, and from time to time jotted down figures. A crowd had packed densely around the table, while the players themselves were attempting to cover the same numbers he covered. It was then that a change came over his play. 10 times in succession he placed $10 on 18 and lost. At this stage he was deserted by the hardiest. He changed his number and won another $350. Immediately the players were back with him, deserting again after a series of losing bets. Quit it, Smoke, quit it, Shorty advised. The longest string of hunches is only so long, and your string's finished. No more bullseyes for you. I'm going to ring her once again before I cash in, Smoke answered. For a few minutes, with varying luck, he played scattering chips over the table, and then dropped $25 on the double nought. I'll take my slip now, he said to the dealer, as he won. Oh, you don't need to show it to me, Shorty said, as they walked to the weigher. I've been keeping track. You're something like 3,600 to the good. How near am I? 3630, Smoke replied. And now you've got to pack the dust home. That was the agreement. 4. Don't crowd your luck, Shorty pleaded with Smoke, the next night, in the cabin, as he evidenced preparations to return to the Elkhorn. You played a mighty long string of hunches, but you played it out. If you go back you'll sure drop all your winnings. But I tell you it isn't hunches, Shorty. It's statistics. It's a system. It can't lose. System be damned. They ain't no such a thing as system. I made 17 straight passes at a crap table once. Was it system? Nope. It was full luck, only I had cold feet and didn't dast let it ride. It'd read, instead of me drawing down after the third pass, I'd a won over 30,000 on the original 2-bit piece. Just the same, Shorty, this is a real system. Ha! You got to show me. I did show you. Come on with me now and I'll show you again. When they entered the Elkhorn, all eyes centered on Smoke, and those about the table made way for him as he took up his old place at the keeper's end. His play was quite unlike that of the previous night. In the course of an hour and a half he made only 4 bets, but each bet was for $25, and each bet won. He cashed in $3,500, and Shorty carried the dust home to the cabin. Now's the time to jump the game, Shorty advised, as he sat on the edge of his bunk and took off his moccasins. You're 7,000 ahead. A man's a fool that'd crowd his luck harder. Shorty, a man would be a blithering lunatic if he didn't keep on backing a winning system like mine. Smoke, you're a sure bright boy. You're college learnt. You know more in a minute than I could know in 40,000 years. But just the same you're dead wrong when you call your luck a system. I've been around some, and seen a few, and I tell you straight and confidential and all assuring, a system to beat a banking game ain't possible. But I'm showing you this one. It's a pipe. No, you're not, Smoke. It's a pipe dream. I'm asleep. By and by I'll wake up, and build the fire, and start breakfast. Well, my unbelieving friend, there's the dust. Heft it. So saying, Smoke tossed the bulging gold sack upon his partner's knees. It weighed 35 pounds, and Shorty was fully aware of the crush of its impact on his flesh. It's real, Smoke hammered his point home. Ha! I've saw some mighty real dreams in my time. In a dream all things is possible. In real life a system ain't possible. Now, I ain't never been to college, but I'm plumb justified in sizzin' up this gamblin' orgy of ourn as a sure enough dream. Hamilton's law of parsimony, Smoke laughed. I ain't never heard of the geezer, but his dope's sure right. I mean, Smoke, and you're just snooping around in my dream and tormentin' me with system. If you love me, if you sure do love me, you'll just yell, Shorty, wake up. And I'll wake up and start breakfast. V. The third night of play, as Smoke laid his first bet, the gamekeeper shoved $15 back to him. "10's all you can play," he said. "The limit's come down." "Gettin' picayune," Shorty sneered. "No one has to play at this table that don't want to," the keeper retorted. "And I'm willing to say straight out in meeting that would sooner your partner didn't play at our table." "Scared of his system, eh?" Shorty challenged, as the keeper paid over $350. "I ain't saying I believe in system, because I don't. There never was a system that'd beat roulette or any percentage game. But just the same I've seen some queer strings of luck, and I ain't going to let this bank go bust if I can help it." Cold feet. Gambling is just as much business, my friend, as any other business. We ain't philanthropists. Night by night, Smoke continued to win. His method of play varied. Expert after expert, in the jam about the table, scribbled down his bets and numbers in vain attempts to work out his system. They complained of their inability to get a clue to start with, and swore that it was pure luck, though the most colossal streak of it they had ever seen. It was Smoke's varied play that obfuscated them. Sometimes, consulting his notebook or engaging in long calculations, an hour elapsed without his staking a chip. At other times he would win 3 limit bets and clean up $1,000 and odd in 5 or 10 minutes. At still other times, his tactics would be to scatter single chips prodigally and amazingly over the table. This would continue for from 10 to 30 minutes of play, when, abruptly, as the ball whirled through the last few of its circles, he would play the limit on column, color, and number, and win all 3. Once, to complete confusion in the minds of those that strove to divine his secret, he lost 40 straight bets, each at the limit. But each night, play no matter how diversely, Shorty carried home $3,500 for him. "It ain't no system," Shorty expounded at one of their bed-going discussions. "I follow you, but they ain't no figuring it out. You never play twice the same. All you do is pick winners when you want to, and when you don't want to, you just on purpose don't. Maybe you're nearer right than you think, Shorty. I've just got to pick losers sometimes. It's part of the system." "System hell? I've talked with every gambler in town, and the last one is agreed they ain't no such thing as system. Yet I'm showing them one all the time. Look here, Smoke." Shorty paused over the candle, in the act of blowing it out. "I'm real irritated. Maybe you think this is a candle. It ain't. And this ain't me neither. I'm out on trail somewheres, in my blankets, lying on my back with my mouth open, and I mean all this. That ain't you talking, any more than this candle is a candle." "It's funny, how I happen to be dreaming along with you then," Smoke persisted. "No, it ain't. You're part of my dream, that's all. I've heard many a man talk in my dreams. I want to tell you one thing, Smoke. I'm getting mangy and mad. If this here dream keeps up much more, I'm going to bite my veins and howl. 6. On the 6th night of play at the Elkhorn, the limit was reduced to $5. It's all right, Smoke assured the gamekeeper. I want 3,500 tonight, as usual, and you only compel me to play longer. I've got to pick twice as many winners, that's all. Why don't you buck somebody else's table? The keeper demanded wrathfully. Because I like this one. Smoke glanced over to the roaring stove only a few feet away. Besides, there are no drafts here, and it is warm and comfortable. On the 9th night, when Shorty had carried the dust home, he had a fit. I quit, Smoke, I quit, he began. I know when I got enough. I ain't Dre, I mean. I'm wide awake. A system can't be, but you got one just the same. There's nothing in the Rule 03. The almanac's clean out. The world's gone smash. There's nothing regular and uniform no more. The multiplication table's gone loco. 2 is 8, 9 is 11, and 2 times 6 is 846 and a half. Anything is everything, and nothing's all, and twice all is cold cream, milkshakes, and calico horses. You've got a system. Figures beat the figure in. What ain't is, and what isn't has to be. The sun rises in the west, the moon's a paystreak, the stars is canned corned beef, scurvy's the blessin' of God, him that dies kicks again, rocks floats, water's gas, I ain't me, you're somebody else, and meb we're twins if we ain't hashed brown potatoes fried in verdigris. Wake me up. Somebody. Oh. Wake me up. 7. The next morning a visitor came to the cabin. Smoke knew him, Harvey Moran, the owner of all the games in the Tivoli. There was a note of appeal in his deep gruff voice as he plunged into his business. It's like this, Smoke, he began. You've got us all guessing. I'm representing 9 other game owners and myself from all the saloons in town. We don't understand. We know that no system ever worked against roulette. All the mathematic sharps in the colleges have told us gamblers the same thing. They say that roulette itself is the system, the one and only system, and, therefore, that no system can beat it, for that would mean arithmetic has gone bug house. Shorty nodded his head violently. If a system can beat a system, then there's no such thing as system, the gambler went on. In such a case anything could be possible. A thing could be in 2 different places at once, or 2 things could be in the same place that's only large enough for one at the same time. Well, you've seen me play, Smoke answered defiantly, and if you think it's only a string of luck on my part, why worry? That's the trouble. We can't help worrying. It's a system you've got, and all the time we know it can't be. I've watched you 5 nights now, and all I can make out is that you favor certain numbers and keep on winning. Now the 10 of us game owners have got together, and we want to make a friendly proposition. We'll put a roulette table in a back room of the Elkhorn, pull the bank against you, and have you buck us. It will be all quiet and private. Just you and Shorty and us. What do you say? I think it's the other way around, Smoke answered. It's up to you to come and see me. I'll be playing in the barroom of the Elkhorn tonight. You can watch me there just as well. 8. That night, when Smoke took up his customary place at the table, the keeper shut down the game. The game's closed, he said. Boss's orders. But the assembled game owners were not to be balked. In a few minutes they arranged a pool, each putting in 1,000, and took over the table. Come on and buck us, Harvey Moran challenged, as the keeper sent the ball on its first whirl around. Give me the 25 limit, Smoke suggested. Sure, go to it. Smoke immediately placed 25 chips on the double nought, and won. Moran wiped the sweat from his forehead. Go on, he said. We got 10,000 in this bank. At the end of an hour and a half, the 10,000 was Smoke's. The bank's bust, the keeper announced. Got enough? Smoke asked. The game owners looked at one another. They were awed. They, the fatted protégés of the laws of chance, were undone. They were up against one who had more intimate access to those laws, or who had invoked higher and undreamed laws. We quit, Moran said. Ain't that right, Burke? Big Burke, who owned the games in the M&G saloon, nodded. The impossible has happened, he said. This Smoke here has got a system all right. If we let him go on, we'll all bust. All I can see, if we're going to keep our tables running, is to cut down the limit to $1, or to 10 cents, or a cent. He won't win much in a night with such stakes. All looked at Smoke. He shrugged his shoulders. In that case, gentlemen, I'll have to hire a gang of men to play at all your tables. I can pay them $10 for a 4-hour shift and make money. Then we'll shut down our tables, Big Burke replied. Unless he hesitated and ran his eye over his fellows to see that they were with him. Unless you're willing to talk business. What will you sell the system for? $30,000, Smoke answered. That's a tax of $3,000 apiece. They debated and nodded. And you'll tell us your system? Surely. And you'll promise not to play roulette in Dawson ever again? No, sir, Smoke said positively. I'll promise not to play this system again. My God! Moran exploded. You haven't got other systems, have you? Hold on. Shorty cried. I want to talk to my partner. Come over here, Smoke, on the side. Smoke followed into a quiet corner of the room, while hundreds of curious eyes centered on him and Shorty. Look here, Smoke, Shorty whispered hoarsely. Meb it ain't a dream. In which case you're sailin' out almighty cheap. You've sure got the world by the slack of its pants. There's millions in it. Shake it. Shake it hard. But if it's a dream? Smoke queried softly. Then, for the sake of the dream and the love of Mike, stick them gamblers up good and plenty. What's the good of Dramamine if you can't dream to the real right, dead sure, eternal finish? Fortunately, this isn't a dream, Shorty. Then if you sell out for 30,000, I'll never forgive you. When I sell out for 30,000, you'll fall on my neck and wake up to find out that you haven't been dreaming at all. This is no dream, Shorty. In about 2 minutes you'll see you have been wide awake all the time. Let me tell you that when I sell out it's because I've got to sell out. Back at the table, Smoke informed the game owners that his offer still held. They proffered him their paper to the extent of 3,000 each. Hold out for the dust, Shorty cautioned. I was about to intimate that I'd take the money weighed out, Smoke said. The owner of the Elkhorn cashed their paper, and Shorty took possession of the gold dust. Now, I don't want to wake up, he chortled, as he hefted the various sacks. Toted up, it's a 70,000 dream. It's be too blamed expensive to open my eyes, roll out of the blankets, and start breakfast. What's your system? Big Burke demanded. We've paid for it, and we want it. Smoke led the way to the table. Now, gentlemen, bear with me a moment. This isn't an ordinary system. It can scarcely be called legitimate, but its one great virtue is that it works. I've got my suspicions, but I'm not saying anything. You watch. Mr. Keeper, be ready with the ball. Wait, I am going to pick 26. Consider I've bet on it. Be ready, Mr. Keeper now. The ball whirled around. You observe, Smoke went on, that 9 was directly opposite. The ball finished in 26. Big Burke swore deep in his chest, and all waited. For double naught to win, 11 must be opposite. Try it yourself and see. But the system? Moran demanded impatiently. We know you can pick winning numbers, and we know what those numbers are, but how do you do it? By observed sequences. By accident I chanced twice to notice the ball whirled when 9 was opposite. Both times 26'1". After that I saw it happen again. Then I looked for other sequences, and found them. Double naught opposite fetches 32, and 11 fetches double naught. It doesn't always happen, but it usually happens. You notice, I say usually. As I said before, I have my suspicions, but I'm not saying anything. Big Burke, with a sudden dawn of comprehension, reached over, stopped the wheel, and examined it carefully. The heads of the 9 other game owners bent over and joined in the examination. Big Burke straightened up and cast a glance at the nearby stove. Hell, he said. It wasn't any system at all. The table stood close to the fire, and the blamed wheels warped. And we've been worked to a frazzle. No wonder he liked this table. He couldn't have bucked for sour apples at any other table. Harvey Moran gave a great sigh of relief and wiped his forehead. Well, anyway, he said, it's cheap at the price just to find out that it wasn't a system. His face began to work, and then he broke into laughter and slapped Smoke on the shoulder. Smoke, you had us going for a while, and we patting ourselves on the back because you were letting our tables alone. Say, I've got some real fizz I'll open if all you'll come over to the Tivoli with me. Later, back in the cabin, Shorty silently overhauled and hefted the various bulging gold sacks. He finally piled them on the table, sat down on the edge of his bunk, and began taking off his moccasins. 70,000, he calculated. It weighs 350 pounds. And all out of a warped wheel and a quick eye. Smoke, you eat 'em raw, you eat 'em alive, you work underwater, you've given me the jim-jams, but just the same I know it's a dream. It's only in dreams that the good things comes true. I'm almighty unanxious to wake up. I hope I never wake up. Cheer up, Smoke answered. You won't. There are a lot of philosophy sharps that think men are sleepwalkers. You're in good company. Shorty got up, went to the table, selected the heaviest sack, and cuddled it in his arms as if it were a baby. I may be sleepwalking, he said, but as you say, I'm sure in mighty good company.